Bonjour, from Berlin, Germany. This is my first international trip as Canada's Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, and I'm honored to be here. Let me be clear, this destination is not a coincidence. It's a deliberate choice, reflecting the importance we place on Canada's relationship with Germany, especially when it comes to energy and natural resources, as well as manufacturing, trade, and defense. Canada and Germany share a long-standing partnership rooted in common values, mutual respect, and shared commitments to democracy, sustainability, and global leadership. That partnership has been significantly strengthened by this visit and a strong relationship between our Prime Minister and the German Chancellor. Over the course of these 2 days, with Prime Minister Carney and the Canadian delegation, we have had many productive meetings and discussions with key Canadian and German companies committed to advancing strategic projects for both our countries. These conversations advanced our shared priorities, strengthened bilateral cooperation, and are driving towards results. Our alliance is extremely important because we are living through a hinge moment in global history. Today's geopolitics have shown the risks and vulnerabilities of over-reliance on a single supplier or customer for energy or critical minerals. 3 years ago, Russia's full-scale invasion of the Ukraine plunged Europe into the worst energy crisis since the 1970s, and Germany faced the harshest energy shock in generations. Meanwhile, Canada is facing a trade war that has caused us to look to retool our economy and build a new economic and security relationship, not only with the US, but with our allies around the world. These are stark reminders that energy is not just about economics, but also about national security, industry and manufacturing, and our sovereignty. As such, the new federal government has made a conscious choice to recenter energy in how we think about our domestic affairs, but also Canada's place in the world. As the world is recalibrating, Canada is stepping up to be a trusted partner and supplier. We are securing our place as a global energy superpower, from critical minerals to oil, natural gas, and to hydrogen. We are ready to be a cornerstone of Europe and the world's energy resilience in a manner that demonstrates our commitment to diversified trade relations, Indigenous reconciliation, and the energy transition. Over the past 2 days, a key focus of our discussions has been critical minerals cooperation. Canada has what Germany and Europe needs: secure, reliable supplies of responsibly produced minerals that are essential to clean technologies, defense, and advanced manufacturing. During this trip, I was pleased to meet German CEOs and take tangible steps towards attracting German investment into Canadian critical minerals projects. For example, at the G7 leaders meeting in June, we announced that Canada and our like-minded allies will co-fund projects, strengthen research and development, and secure the minerals that power EVs, batteries, aerospace, and defense from market manipulation and non-market-based competition via our Critical Minerals Production Alliance. Yesterday, Germany announced the appointment of their envoy to the alliance, who will be a direct counterpart to our envoy, Isabella Chan. Our two envoys will work together over the next few months, especially leading up to the G7 ministerial meeting in the fall, to connect Canada and Germany on discussions and work to stockpile and develop critical minerals needed for defense and technology. We also saw the signing of 3 agreements between Canadian and German companies material steps to advance the crucial work I'm talking about. Troilus Corporation, a Canadian mining company, reached a supply agreement for a significant portion of future copper concentrate production with Arubis AG, a leading European smelting and recycling group headquartered here in Hamburg, Germany. Torngat Metals, a Quebec-based rare earths development company, and VacuSmelts, a global leader in the production of rare earths permanent magnets, have signed an agreement for the long-term supply of Canadian rare earth oxides to the company. RockTech Lithium, a Canadian-German cleantech company, signed an MOU with Enertrag to connect their lithium conversion plant in Guben, Germany, to Enertrag's solar and offshore wind farms, allowing RockTech to decarbonize its operations and offer its customers more competitive pricing. This is a major step forward as we prepare for the G7 Energy and Environment Ministers meeting in the fall. On LNG, as you likely heard, our new government is taking a somewhat different position. I want to be clear, this is not to speak ill of the past government, but to do what democratic governments are elected to do: evolve based on the moment and what Canadians and our allies are asking for, based on new information, new facts on the ground, and changing geopolitics. Recognizing that LNG projects under construction in Canada will primarily serve Asian markets over the course of our time in Germany, I heard there is still strong demand for Canadian LNG here and across the EU. And we are open to exploring how Canadian LNG can play a significant role in the world's evolving energy mix beyond Asia if the demand and the infrastructure aligns in Canada. That said, I want to be very clear to the Canadian audience. Any project that could potentially serve European markets would have to be built in collaboration with the affected provinces and with Indigenous partners and have a strong chance of successful execution. In my meetings with German Energy Minister Katharina Reiche, I also had the chance to discuss how we can progress hydrogen cooperation, which remains a key pillar of our bilateral relationship. Despite challenges in the global hydrogen market, Canadian projects continue to advance, and we know there will be long-term demand for hydrogen as a sustainable fuel source, a demand it is in our interest to meet as an energy superpower for today and tomorrow. This trip has been about more than trade. It has been about building a future where energy is secure and sustainable, and Canadian products are being traded in alignment with a commitment to democracy and a free market. It is about attracting capital investment to Canada, and we get back into business of building big things. I see enormous potential to deepen Canadian-German cooperation in energy, mining, infrastructure development, and technological innovation. These are areas where Canada brings not only resources, but reliability, expertise, and a commitment to the low-carbon products that Germany is looking for as they, like Canada, look to navigate the energy transition without compromising industrial strength or energy security. In a time of global uncertainty, Canada is offering predictability and purpose. We are proud to be a trusted partner to the continued collaboration with Germany. Thank you, merci, and I'll take your questions.
Thank you. We will now begin taking questions. Merci, nous allons maintenant répondre aux questions. For our first question, we will start with Megan Potkins. Just a reminder to please share your name and affiliation and ask your question. I will prompt you to unmute now, Megan.
Hello, Minister. Thank you for taking my question. This is Megan Potkins with the Financial Post. You talk about an evolving situation and facts that are changing that have led to your government's position. I guess specifically, I'm asking about LNG. We also know that LNG projects specifically that are offering that could potentially involve shipping Canadian LNG across the Atlantic have been challenged by things like incredibly high capital costs, the restricted shipping season through the Arctic, if it was something through the Port of Churchill. We also know that it's faced political opposition, as well as, frankly, the risk that German buyers who might be running on hydrogen before the first cargo itself would leave Nova Scotia or the East Coast. These have all been raised. I say these have all been raised as objections to or challenges to a project advancing. I'm curious if you could articulate what gives either you, I don't want to say confidence, but credible evidence that a project could advance. What gives proponents of these projects who are apparently saying they could potentially deliver this within 5 years, the kind of confidence that the belief that this could potentially be different, that we could see a project advance that involves shipping Canadian LNG across the Atlantic.
So I'll speak about what I heard and what Canadian LNG producers heard. And I'll caveat this by saying, as I in my private sector life build projects, what you do to decide whether there's need of a project is talk to your customers. What we heard loud and clear from German LNG buyers and LNG users is they believe there is demand and they want to buy our products. What we heard very clearly from a number of German LNG buyers and users and from the German government is, while they believe natural gas is a transition fuel, what they have come to realize over the last several years, given the geopolitical uncertainty, given the rapidly increasing demand for electricity, partially driven by the AI revolution, is that they will need more of that transition fuel than they thought a few years ago. They will need materially more than they thought a few years ago, and they will need it for longer than they believed a few years ago. That was a message we heard consistently from German buyers of LNG and users of LNG and from the German government. We had 4 different Canadian LNG projects that are at various stages of commercial operation over here. All of them were receiving the same message from Germans. So in my experience, the best way to tell whether there's demand for something is to talk to the customers. The customers are saying there's demand.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we will go to Catherine Levesque.
Hi, Minister. Catherine Levesque from the National Post. You said the Major Projects Office will be launching later this week. Could you clarify which date exactly? Who will be in charge of this office? And does the government have a list already ready to go? Or will this be more of a piecemeal approach where you're going to be announcing, port infrastructure and just a few projects at a time? Thank you.
So I always learn not to jump in front of your boss. My boss has said that it will be announced later this week. Today's Wednesday, so it'll either be Thursday or Friday. In terms of major projects, the Prime Minister has said he would expect there to be an announcement at some point in the next 2 weeks. I think that's pretty good guidance for you. I'm not going to go further than that. So I am hopeful you will be quite pleased on Thursday or Friday with the announcement of the launch of the major projects office, the leadership of the major projects office, and the plans for it. And I would expect over the next 2 weeks, the first projects to be announced.
Thanks, Catherine. Next, we will go to David Youngren with Reuters.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for doing this. Given the long list of hurdles that you and others have enunciated about getting LNG to Europe, I mean, how realistic is it to expect Canada will be exporting LNG to Europe, not just anytime soon, but anytime ever?
I can tell you that many of the buyers are prepared to buy LNG off the west coast of Canada and trade those products in the international market for LNG. That was something that was a really important learning experience for me. Many of the buyers have trading operations in North America, in Asia, and in Europe, and they will swap cargoes. And so they can buy cargoes on the West Coast and swap those cargoes for cargoes in Europe. And so German companies today are looking at buying West Coast LNG and swapping it for deliveries into Europe so that they can take advantage of our production on the West Coast to supply German needs in the Atlantic. As we move forward and projects move through the one project, one review, and if they're projects of national interest, what work through the major projects office, we are confident we can get to a place where the right projects with strong proponents and with the support of provinces and First Nations, we will get those through. And I would just point out to you, when you look at the projects in British Columbia, they have the support of the province. They have the support of First Nations. And I expect that to be the case for several other projects as well.
Thank you, David. Next, we will move to Stephanie Ha.
Hi there, Minister. Thanks for taking my question. I'm the CTV News. Yesterday, we spoke with the CEO of Trans Mountain, and he voiced support for wanting to optimize the pipeline they have now. Are you supportive of optimizing TMX so its capacity can exceed 1 million barrels a day?
The optimization is something that I don't think that's a project of national interest. So I'm not going to jump in front of that. If there's a case to be made for optimization, they will make that case, and we'll consider it through the normal course.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
And
Sorry, we're limiting to one. Sorry, folks, we're just limiting to one question
Okay, no
given
worries.
the interest. We'll move to Kyle Duggan next.
Hi, Minister. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you for taking our questions. Did the previous government make a mistake by not quickly pivoting to offer Germany LNG like this when Russia turned off its taps in 2022?
You know, as I said before, I'm not here to comment on what the previous government did. The previous government made its decision based on the situation at the time. What we've been elected to do is respond to the realities today, taking into account what Canadians expect of us. And I would say the realities today are quite different than they were 2 or 3 years ago. My job as the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources is to deal with the reality today, to develop our natural resources in a responsible way, consistent with First Nations. And if there are buyers who express an interest in that, to try and make that happen. That creates jobs for Canadians. That uses Canadian steel and aluminum, which are under threat from tariffs from the United States. that creates significant revenues for provinces and the federal government to fund the programs that Canadians expect from their government. That shows the world that Canada can be a producer of the lowest carbon intensity transition fuels the world needs and wants. And that delivers unprecedented amounts of economic reconciliation. So those are the facts on the ground today. Those are the facts we're dealing with. And I'm comfortable with where this government is headed.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Davis Legree.
Hi, Minister. Thanks for taking our questions today. Appreciate it. Back home this morning in PEI, Pierre Poilievre launched an attack against the clean fuel regulations, which he is now calling the carbon tax 2.0. I'm just wondering, I'd like your thoughts on what you make of that and whether your government is committed to standing by the clean fuel regulations.
So that's a great question for Minister de Bruijn, who oversees those regulations. I'm here in Germany focusing on developing opportunities for our energy and natural resources companies and finding new customers. It's really Minister de Bruijn's job to deal with the clean energy regulations.
Thank you. And next, we'll move to Ethan Liu.
Hi, Minister. I'm here in Berlin as well. I've noticed you've done a lot of media, so I thank you for your support of the Fourth Estate. I want to pick up on what you said earlier about a single supplier or customer. Right now, about 80% of our exports go to the US, about something like 5% goes to the EU. So I wonder, do you have a specific number for how much you think you can move that needle?
So, from my perspective, the best outcome for Canadians is we maintain our sales to the US on a tariff-free basis. That is the goal that we're working towards. And at the same time, we grow our exports and we grow them materially to other like-minded democracies around the world. That better balances Canada's exports. That has us not having all of our eggs in one basket. And I think that's what is the right thing for Canada, given the geopolitical realities today and the decisions that other countries have made on how they want to trade in this world.
Thank you. We will move to Rafi Boudjahkanian next.
Hello, Minister. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Rafi.
Great, thanks. It's being reported that the US is going to be putting these anti-dumping tariffs on corrosion-resistant steel products from 10 countries. That includes Canada. I'm wondering if you have a sense of how this impacts Canada-US trade talks.
I'm here in Germany. I haven't seen that headline. I know that Minister LeBlanc is actively engaged in real-time U.S. conversations. I think it's better that you ask that question to Minister LeBlanc or Minister Joly, who oversees that file. It's not something that I'm focused on right now as Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, and I'm sorry, I just haven't seen that headline, given I've been over here in Germany for the last couple of days.
Thank you. Okay, so we're running a little bit out of time, so we'll take one more question, and we'll move to Darius Nikas next.
Yes, Minister, thanks for taking our question and supporting the Fifth Estate as well as the Fourth. The question really is around the actual carbon footprint of LNG transport. You'll know the Cornell report last year obviously suggested very strongly that, in fact, LNG, once you factor in shipping, had a larger carbon footprint than coal. So given that we're treating it as a transition fuel, and it's been obviously framed as such for many years in this industry and by government, do you not think that we are going to squander a chance at actually keeping on track for our broader emissions ambitions as a country, and indeed the impact it'll have on global emissions? Thank you.
I'm just not sure I get the premise of your question. If you're trying to suggest that that LNG has a higher carbon footprint than coal, I just fundamentally reject that.
Well, not
premise.
my study. It was obviously out of Cornell, Professor Haworth study last year.
I would reject the premise of that research. I think there's lots of research that suggests that otherwise would be the case. What I can tell you is it's very clear that the LNG that's produced by Canada has the lowest carbon intensity of any of the major LNG suppliers in the world, and that our LNG is closer to the markets in Northern Asia than other producers. And our LNG, if it's shipped off the East Coast, would be closer to Europe than all of the other producers other than Norway. So I think it's pretty clear we're in a pretty good position to provide the lowest carbon intensity fuel with the lowest transportation emissions if people are going to use natural gas as a transition fuel, which we heard loud and clear in Germany today. They will be using more of it, and they will be using it for longer. So again, as Canadians, we have a choice. Someone is going to provide that fuel to Germany. I believe Canadians would expect us to provide that fuel, given we have the cleanest fuel out there. It generates Canadian jobs. It uses Canadian steel and aluminum. It generates revenues for Canadian governments so they can provide the services Canadians expect. And it provides unprecedented levels of economic reconciliation for the First Nations who are leading many of these projects. So from my perspective, I'm not sure the relevance of that study that you're quoting.
Thank you, Minister Hodgson, and thank you for all the journalists asking questions today. For those that have additional questions or follow-ups, please feel free to reach out to the Media Relations Unit or Greg Frame, the Minister's Press Secretary. This concludes the event. Thank you, everyone. Ceci conclut l'événement. Merci à tous.
See.